Alright dudes, today I have a plan. I've put together an idea. So I've been talking for a while about my arena and what I want to do with it, and I figured it'd be fun and interesting to put together a tournament. So we're going to start preparing for it today, and I've put together a series of rules that I'm hoping I can share here if I do this. So the rules are each faction gets 3 fighters. I figure 3v3s are more interesting than 1v1s. They get the head of the faction. If there is no head of faction, like the Holy Order, they get the strongest character available to them. Now, I might not necessarily know who the strongest character is, but I'm going to spend a lot of time exploring. Like scouting out. You could think of me as like a talent scout, going around finding the toughest people for each faction. Maybe not all the factions, but most of them, at least. And then they get 2 of the second toughest scrubs. So I think for the Holy Order, because they're the outlier, I think the Inquisitor is the toughest they've got. And then High Paladin might be next, or High Overseer. But either way, we'll get 2 of the second toughest. If there aren't 2 of the second toughest, we'll have to get the second toughest and the third toughest, but that's minor implementation details, I'm not too worried about that. In terms of what they'll be wearing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have seed fights between the factions before the tournament begins. And the rule will be that their gear all starts out being junk. Sorry. It's all going to be junk. Like the worst kind we'll get Enrico to make it or something. And then the leaders of each faction are going to fight each other. And if they lose a fight, they get a gear upgrade. This is to sorry. This is to try and balance out the teams somewhat, because I know the Bugmaster is overpowered and is just going to win. But if we give the other teams gear bonuses and try and scale it this way, we might have some more interesting fights. I'm not sure how this will work for a loss gets a weapon upgrade armor. I need to think about this. I'm not sure if they'll get a full upgrade or if they will get like 1 piece upgraded. It depends how many factions we have. I'll do the math once we have faction levels. Ideally, the weakest faction will get the best armor, and it will kind of scale from there. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Another interesting thing will be that the people participating in the seed fights will level up during them. But I think we're just going to have to live with that. We've also got the problem that I have already leveled up the Dust King somewhat, but that's okay. That's okay. We can live with that. So the rules for the seed fights are going to be, they're going to be 1v1, so it'll be leader versus leader, scrub versus scrub. Whoever goes unconscious for 30 seconds first loses, because just falling unconscious doesn't take into account your toughness stat, and we want to take that into account because we want to try and take everything into account, well, as much as we can. And toughness will affect how long you go unconscious for. And upgrades are not shared between the leaders and the scrubs. So that's because the scrubs... 1 second. Okay. So yeah, the scrubs might not be as strong as the leader. Like there might be different differentials between them. So like for the Holy Order, their scrubs are going to be pretty strong. For the Fogmen, not so much. So hopefully this will balance that out somewhat. And then we've got the 3v3, so once we're actually in the tournament. I'm not entirely convinced by these rules, but I think they'll be okay. We'll see. When all three of a team are unconscious, if the other team are all conscious, they win. So the tournament fights are going to be a bit longer, because let's say the two scrubs go down, but the leader manages to take out all three of the other team. He then has to get his scrubs back to consciousness before he wins, because the other team might wake up again, and I think that'll make for a more interesting fight. That means they need medkits, so all characters get one each. That should be medkit. But the faction leader gets two, because he'll probably have to heal his scrubs some more. And that's the basics for the tournament. I might flesh these out a bit more as time goes on. It just depends. But with that in mind, they're my rules. They're here as a reference. If anyone has any suggestions, let me know. They're not set in stone, but they're what I've come up with so far. I've been thinking about it, not a massive amount, so there may be suggestions that would assist. But for now, let's jump right in. We also need to build our arena, and I also need to... The Bugmaster needs some scrubs, so we're going to have to kidnap two spiders, because he's on the same faction as them, so they shouldn't attack him. But I don't know if he will bandage them. We'll need to do some experimenting with that. And I also don't know... Well, they definitely won't be able to bandage him. And they won't be able to get gear upgrades either. So I need to try and figure out how to deal with that. But they are on the Bugmaster's team, so we might just consider them overpowered by default. If he loses a fight, we'll have to think about what they could get instead of weapon upgrades. Maybe he can get an extra bug for each fight he loses. That might be fair. But it might not be, because extra characters are way OP, you know. More characters always beats better gear, in my experience. So we'll need to think about that as well. But that's the basics of the tournament idea. In fact, I'm gonna cut this off and have it as a separate video just for showing the rules, and then I'll start another video which I'll upload when it's done. So, bit weird that I've carried this on and loaded the game, but whatever. I'll catch you guys in the next one.